What is going on to you, crew? Welcome back to another episode of the Totally Unqualified Podcast. We're up to episode 73. We're closing in on 3/4 of a century at 75. That was a little hard to say. I am, of course, joined with me today by my two lovely co-hosts, Jake Maltese and Gage Hall, and I'm also joined by the lovely Anish Gupta of the Cold Hard Truth Podcast. It's been a while in the making here, getting him on, but we're finally here. I'm glad to have you, Anish.
Man, excited to be here. It's first time I'm a guest with Luke, so usually we have him on. So this is going to be really, really exciting, and I'm excited to chat about, a lot of football and also some basketball in here, so it's going to be great.
Of course.
How do you guys put up with Luke? Do you just,
Oh no, he's an amazing guest. I love talking Packers with him. It's fun. It's fun every time.
I'm his go-to Packers correspondent. Yes.
Oh, okay. You're the Packers guy. Slash owner.
True.
Yes.
Slash owner.
That is true.
Oh yeah. That's changed. That's changed since the last time I've been on your podcast. I just own a franchise now. So yeah. Except they make decisions, without my permission. Trading Devontae Adams and all that. So yeah, that was a little heartbreaking. If you're listening to us on the Apple Podcast or Spotify, make sure to leave us a rating and review. It would be greatly appreciated. It helps the podcast out so much. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that jazz. Now, Anish, we start every episode off with a guess that player. Oh, and it'd be good if I had a guess that player, wouldn't it? Fuck, I completely forgot.
It was a guess.
Luke's even guessing the player today.
I am guessing the player. All right, we're gonna go. Okay, I have one in mind that I just pulled up.
Please tell me it's football. Please.
Oh, it's gonna be football.
It's always football.
We haven't done basketball in 60 episodes.
Good.
Yeah, we're not. We would. That's like playing, Purtle, the Purtle game, the Purtle Wordle game.
Yeah. I've heard about it. I saw it on TikTok a little bit.
Yep. So we give you guys a minute just to ask me questions about, the player. And I pulled his stats up right here. So anytime you guys start, I will start the clock.
Currently playing.
Yep.
AFC,
NFC.
Okay. NFC West.
No.
NFC North.
Nope.
So then NFC South.
South.
Yep. NFC South.
Panthers.
Let's go Panthers.
Nope.
Falcons.
Okay.
Linebacker. Okay.
Oh shit.
Deion Jones.
Not Deion Jones.
Is it?
He's currently playing for the Falcons.
Currently playing.
The guy with the hard name.
I know who you're talking about.
It's not Olukun because he's on the Jags.
Yeah.
He moved. Shit. I don't know.
I feel like
wait. This is gonna be so bad. Because Deion Jones the only noticeable one besides.
How did this come to your head, Luke? Has he spent his career with the Falcons?
There's a very notable reason why this came to my head. Specifically today. Specifically today. Yes.
Rashawn Evans.
Rashawn Evans.
Yeah, they just traded for him.
Rashawn Evans. Yep.
Really? I didn't know this.
Yeah. No, I think they just signed him to a 1-year deal.
Or not traded for him. My bad.
Yeah, they had to bolster that linebacking core after.
Really, the Titans didn't keep him?
No,
that's shocking.
Player for him.
Yeah,
he was.
Especially in the interior, but
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna guess Lorenzo Carter. That was gonna be my next guess.
Yeah,
damn, that's Giants, right? He's on the Giants.
No, I think he's on the Falcons now. Lorenzo. Yeah.
Did he leave?
Yeah. I think he just moved there this offseason.
Oh my God, I gotta keep. I've been catching up on.
There's so many indoor moves that just happen.
Lorenzo Carter signed a 1-year deal with the Falcons 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, this offseason's been crazy, and I'll tell you right now, I did not know Lorenzo Carter signed with the Falcons. Because there's a lot more other headlines that I was worrying about football wise. All right, so after that, guess that player, we gotta keep. Score again. We have to figure out something.
Yeah, I don't even know.
We stopped keeping score like 30 episodes ago, and we're gonna have to figure out something. Anish is probably the biggest Browns fan I know personally. So, in this first segment, the Cleveland Browns, a little bit of a season preview. Anish, I wanted to get your thoughts on where the franchise stands now. Are they Super Bowl contenders, and what direction you want to see them go in the draft? How do you feel? I'll start with this. How did you feel about the Deshaun Watson trade, and are you looking forward to seeing him suit up for the Browns?
Yeah, so it's ironic you asked me. So I was on a train ride back, start of spring break, and I'm sitting on this bar and I'm literally watching a bunch of NFL live episodes on just what the Browns are gonna do, where Baker's potentially going, and then out of nowhere, my friend goes, dude, holy shit, like screw the Browns, dude, like what the hell, Anish, I hate you, and I'm like, all right, he's probably just typical daily Brown slander that I usually get. And then I look and I get like 30 notifications in a row by like Yahoo, ESPN that Deshaun Watson wants to play for. I'm like, holy crap, what just happened? I'm like going crazy in the train. I even went live on our Instagram account because I was like freaking out. I was like, no way that just happened. So obviously from a football perspective, it's an amazing move. Sure. I think, yes, the draft capital was a lot. It changed from 5 to 6 picks. I think it was obviously 3 firsts, a second. I think there's an additional 5th in there. And then instead of the 5th we get back, it's a 6th now from Houston. So a lot of draft capital. I think it's the biggest draft capital I think ever in a trade. But in regards to from a football perspective, I think it's tremendous just because you get a guy, 3-time Pro Bowler, right? A dude who can... He's as electrifying outside the pocket as he is inside the pocket. Sure. And he's probably one of the 3 quarterbacks that can, make any type of play down the field. I think when you put him and stack him with guys like Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, he may not have that cannon of an arm, but I think with a combination of legs, arm talent and accuracy, he's definitely up there. So to get a guy like that, as much as I have been a defender of Baker Mayfield, I cannot deny that Deshaun Watson's better. I think that's just an objective fact. And, an upgrade at that position in especially the AFC, which is that loaded right now, huge pickup. And I mean, obviously, I'm not going to touch too much into the off the field issues, but the Browns fans, the Browns community are pretty split on that. And we did a reaction to his press conference. I watched the entire thing. Literally 96% of the questions were not on football. So it didn't even, sounded more like a trial than an actual presser. So, that's going to come with it. And, the message that I got was that the Browns are willing to part with that, willing to maybe even take a dip in their audience, probably from the female side with Deshaun Watson. Like they're willing to do that. So that just goes to show how great of a player he is. And even at this age, 26, right? Yeah, he's taken a year off, but we've seen guys tear their ACL, take a year off from football with rehab. So to say that he can't come back and be the same player, I think is, pretty ridiculous.
I think it's fair. I think that's really fair.
Yeah, and you mentioned Baker Mayfield, so I kind of want to get into that side of things a little bit. How you say you're a defender, but what's the most you think you'll really get for a guy of his stature at this point? I mean, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of leverage there. They were asking for like a 2nd or 3rd, but ideally, what do you think you get out of the trade for him?
Gage hates Baker Mayfield, by the way.
What?
I don't hate Baker Mayfield.
No, Gage hates Baker Mayfield.
Well, I do not. I've made some jokes at his expense. But
I don't really fully. So here's what I would say about Baker. And obviously, if we had 3 hours to discuss it, I probably wouldn't even be able to get done with all my takes on this guy. Just because he's the only Browns quarterback that I've really had, right? For more than a year. So I would say, he played 14 games on bad mechanics. And the worst thing you can do, especially as an NFL athlete, is put out bad tape. Because scouts, analysts, they'll always use that bad tape against you. And that was my problem. So when he tore his labrum, and I've talked to other athletes about this. I'm actually a scout for Cal football, so I know people who've torn their labrum for us, right? It isn't an injury. It's an injury you can play through. So when he tore it, I wasn't that concerned. My concern was when he got it separated in week 6. When JJ Watt, that was the problem. Because up until then, he had a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, 97 passer rating. So the stats weren't bad then. That's when it fully deteriorated, right? The separated shoulder. Then he had a pulled groin, a bad heel, soreness in knees, all of that. And with that bad tape out there, obviously you asked me what I think we can get. He basically gave his hand away when he requested that trade, right? Because he could have had all the leverage in the world if he hadn't, right? We would have probably had to play him if Deshaun got suspended. And that's good tape that he could have put out there for him to get traded, right? So now they know he has to leave, right? He doesn't want to come back there. And every team is saying, we don't want that 19 mil guaranteed that we have to take on. So I think at most would probably be a 4th round pick because Matt Ryan right now is a better commodity than Baker Mayfield, and Matt Ryan was traded for a 3rd. So I think at most would be a 4th, despite his age, despite his, what he's shown in the past, because to sit up here and say that Baker is not better than 32 quarterbacks in the National Football League right now is, I think, ridiculous.
Exactly.
He's had 2 years of really good play, right? His rookie year and his third year. So to say that he cannot play in this league, I think is, it's just false. But he's also had bad tape. So you're looking at a 27-year-old. Oh, he's going to be 27 this year. I think that is really inconsistent, but has talent. That's really what you're looking at here. And I think the teams that, could go after him, right? Carolina maybe, but they already said they want to stick with Darnold, and you would have 2 quarterbacks on that 5th year, right? And then Seattle maybe, but they've already said that they want to go with Drew Lock. I would love to see Seattle personally, just because of the core that they have in DK and Tyler Lockett. That would be his best core he'd ever have. But I think, 4th round pick. That's kind of where we're at.
You think that he gets moved before the start of the season, or do you think he's like somebody gets injured training camp or that kind of thing, and then he gets moved?
Tough to say right now. I would say that, like, in terms of this type of move, time is really like the question, right? As you're saying, and I think it's probably looking more later than sooner. I mean, barring something like if the Browns engage in another trade with for like a player, then maybe he could be included. But I mean, if we're talking just picks here, I mean, it could go beyond the draft. Like, it could go into maybe 2023 capital we're talking. So it really just depends, because the Browns do now have 4 quarterbacks on their, actually 3, I think, on their active roster. I think they moved Stanton out. And it's like number 70, like Lou something. It's a long last name. The Lou something. I can't even pronounce it. But yeah. So I think they have 3 on their active roster, but that would be Jacoby Brissett, Deshaun, and Baker, who are making like a combined like 50 something mil. So they would probably have to move on him to start the year, but they still have second most cap space in the league. So
yeah, and I'm hearing rumblings now that they're trying to re-sign Jadeveon Clowney to try and get their front 7. In gear and intact for the start of the season. But I think the final nail in the coffin is probably picking up Jacoby Brissett, because that's how you knew, like, you needed an insurance policy in case Deshaun Watson wasn't going to be able to play this season, or in case he was going to be suspended for however long. Maybe they could have worked something out with Baker, but I think the bridge was burned as soon as, they tried to, fly on their private jet to go meet with Deshaun Watson. It's
didn't even tell him. I was kind of mad at that. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem with them doing it. I just have a problem with them not telling, because they actually started in the presser. They had revealed that they started the whole process of looking into Deshaun in November, right? And that's fine. Yeah. Like, you can do that, but to actually go and do an action, right, such as going on Haslam's private jet, you made sure that was out. Like that could have completely been done in private, but I'm pretty sure they made sure that it was out for him to know. So that, just a little bit of a bad sign there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, how are you feeling about the squad this year? Because as I'm chewing my sandwich, sorry, but the linebacker position is probably the position I'm looking at most, and it's got some interesting people, especially with JOK coming back. But Sione Takitaki,
they just traded Mac Wilson.
Yep.
Yeah, traded Mac Wilson for Chase Winovich, I believe.
Yep.
So. Yeah, Sione Takitaki and Anthony Walker coming back as your starting linebackers. Do you think that's the position that the Browns should address most in the draft?
Yeah, so I've gone back and forth with it, because we said this last year that linebacker was by far the position we had to address, and I wanted JOK from the start because I knew we weren't getting at Micah Parsons. I did a video actually on Parsons versus JOK for the pod, and where I kind of broke down both their films, and I like both of them just for different things. And I thought Parsons was just a home run, but not for us, in the sense that he was more, again, of that guy you could line up like a diamond, right, in the top of your kind of top diamond set, or you could put him on the edges. But for Parsons, again, just since we have Myles Garrett, you can't really line him up the same way Dallas can. So JOK I thought was a slam dunk, and when he played, he was the highest graded rookie in terms of run stuffing for linebackers. So it's not like the guy couldn't play; it's just he couldn't stay on the field. So I think he'll come back. He'll be a good piece. And yeah, Mac Wilson he was a 2019 5th round pick out of Alabama. He never got the playing time. And I mean, if he couldn't earn it, then there was a reason why we couldn't use him. And Chase Winovich at least has been a proven starter for Bill Belichick defense. So I thought it was a decent trade. Anthony Walker, he's a decent linebacker. Again, nothing too much to say about him, but he's played better at Indy than he has for us. So that's probably what I would say on him. And then Sione Takitaki most of his plays have been made on special teams, and he's made a couple plays in 2020, 2021, not much. So yeah, that linebacking core is weak. I would say we probably address that more in day 3. Day 2, I would probably look at more skill positions just because in terms of the wide receiver core, like people expected big things out of DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and he flat out disappointed in some of the biggest games we needed him. The Raiders game, namely. Like, I know Nick Mullins was the quarterback, fine, but he had 4 drops in the first half. Like, you can't do that. That's not something that I would expect from a potential wide receiver 1.
Corey Coleman vibes.
Yeah, oh my god. Dude, that 0-16 year, I don't know if I'm sure you guys all know the drop, right? The diamond hands against Steelers. Oh my god, dude, I was so sad when that happened. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like 4th and 2, wide open. Yeah, so no, Corey Coleman is a very sore subject, but moving on to someone who's better than Corey Coleman, Anthony Schwartz. Was never used. Like like Stefanski in the plays they did use him, he was ultra productive. I know he caught a touchdown against the Packers Christmas Day. And the first week against Kansas City, he had a long bomb for like 40, and he was used 3 times. And he had like over 60 yards. So I want him to get more involved. I do want a receiver though, round 2, maybe Christian Watson, maybe a Sky Moore. I like David Bell too. If somehow Treylon Burks were to fall, I would maybe trade up a little bit because we're at pick 44. But that's probably what I would be looking at. Maybe an edge, just because this class is hella deep at edge. Like we're talking maybe, I think like 15 edge rushers that could really start for an NFL team here.
Do you think you need more of a slot guy now that Jarvis isn't there?
I mean, there's a chance we even bring him back, and I obviously, Browns community loves him. I obviously love him. He was a big part of that culture change. But yeah, slot guy, I think I would love to see Schwartz there just because of how quick he is. And I would like someone at Y or probably X that we can put just because Amari Cooper will, shift around the outsides. Probably would like another outside.
You could play anywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. Now I know there's been a lot of talk. Well, not a lot of talk. The AFC West is the best division in football. I don't think anybody could deny that. But the AFC North is sneakily good as well. I mean, you just had a team that went to the Super Bowl in the Cincinnati Bengals. The Baltimore Ravens have an MVP quarterback just from a few years ago, and they were probably the most injured team in recent memory that I can remember.
Last 20 years.
Yeah. Last season was terrible. And even the Steelers, although they have Mitch Trubisky at the helm now, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, so you can't count them out either. What are your expectations for the Browns just coming up in this season? Do you think they should be the favorites to win this division? Yeah,
so here's my thing with the Steelers. I will never bet on the Steelers to have a losing season until I see it. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't like. It doesn't matter who they have. Mike Tomlin is just not prone to losing. So, the Steelers will always be there. The AFC North has always been a top 3, tough, hardcore, physical division in football. With the Bengals, this is a hot take of mine, and maybe now looking back, I'm not as sure, but I actually thought the Bengals might not make the playoffs this year. Like, really, with their schedule, it is a bloodbath. Like, and we've seen teams fall off Super Bowl hangover, things like that, and especially in a loaded AFC, I would not be shocked. The Ravens are my favorite to win this division. I think with them coming back, they're going to get a lot of pieces back. J.K. Dobbins, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey. Hopefully he can play a full season. Ronnie Stanley, right? Like they just have so many pieces coming back, and John Harbaugh is a hell of a coach. And they were 8-3, right, to start off. Despite all that, I think they had like 20 players on IR throughout that. So I got the Ravens as my favorite. And for the Browns, I'm going to slow the Super Bowl hopes. I think we're still a year or 2 away. But we'll always be in the mix, I think, with Deshaun Watson. I think he'll always keep us there. And I think for us, I think the playoffs are definitely a possibility. It just depends on the suspension, right? So, which I do expect to happen. I think, with how the media is nowadays and how the whole thing is, I think he'll probably get 6 to 8 games. And who's to say Jacoby can't win, maybe 3 or 4 of those. So if he does, and Deshaun comes back and he's perfectly healthy by November, right? Because wear and tear happens in the NFL. So if he comes in fully healthy, who's to say this team can't make a run? But if I were to say right now, I think Super Bowl bubble, I would not put him in there. But for the playoffs, I would definitely put him in as a wild card team. I think they could be in that little, bubble with teams like Denver. I don't see really winning the division, but I think they'll for surely be in that wild card mix. Who else would I see as like a Colts, if not division winners, I think they'll be a wild card team.
Titans are always in there.
Yep, Titans will be in there too, just because of Mike Vrabel.
Chiefs, maybe. I mean, with how competitive. Honestly, the entire AFC West you could put in there.
Yeah, exactly.
The entire AFC North in there too, just with how competitive they are. I mean,
Patriots are going to be good this year.
Dolphins, possibly. There's a lot of teams. There's more.
Let's chill on the Dolphins.
They might be the most improved team.
I like the Dolphins coming in. I think they've got a really solid. Just because schematically they're spread offense, right? Because that's what Mike McDaniel's going to use. Yeah. Spread offense with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Tua, who doesn't need to throw the ball down the field in a spread offense, and Raheem Mostert. I think that's a pretty good combo.
Oh yeah,
it is.
I think they're going to have the most unique offense in the league this upcoming season. It's going to look a lot like, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. I think that's what he's trying to build. I kind of would have liked it more if they had Brian Flores, just because Brian Flores, the stability is there. He's shown that he could win. But it's going to be interesting seeing Mike McDaniel. He just doesn't feel like a head coach, in my opinion. Like, he just doesn't.
Like, brash and young. And,
yeah.
But hey, that's what we said about Sean McVay. Sean
true.
McVay is one of my favorite coaches ever. I think he's got just unlimited potential. But yeah,
I feel like Sean McVay even feels like more of a coach to me. Maybe it's just because we've seen him do it for a few years now. I'm sure, going back and seeing him, in that first year, it would have felt a little off still. But Mike McDaniel, I don't know, just something about him. And I think he'll do fine. He seems like a really smart guy. He knows the game. And I think that he'll bring that into that offense for sure. But the AFC is just so stacked. It's crazy to think about.
I think 13 teams. What are your guys' thoughts? 13 teams can make the playoffs next year in the AFC. I think 13, really.
Who are the three?
I think the three out would probably be Houston 1. And look, I think Jacksonville's got a bright future. Just I don't think it would be this year.
Okay.
And that third team. Why am I forgetting the third team?
Jets.
Oh, Jets. There you go. Yeah.
The Jets even feel like. I think
the Jets
they're a couple
can
years
definitely
out also,
improve.
but
I just don't see a winning season out of them.
Yeah, not with the Bills and how competitive the AFC is. And they're probably going to be playing the Packers in London, is my guess. So that's a loss on their schedule. So yeah, I think it's going to be crazy. And just the trend is to sign now we're completely talking about the Dolphins now. The trend in the NFL is to sign a young offensive minded head coach. You saw it with Kyle Shanahan, you saw it with Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniels is going to be the next guy up. And even Nathaniel Hack, Nick Sirianni as well.
There we go. I love that Nick Sirianni love. People hated it so much, and I was like, just watch what he'll do. Like,
his interview. I feel like people just gave him shit
just because of the interview. Exactly.
we gave him some fair.
Oh my god,
he didn't. To be fair, that interview was pretty bad. Like, he did knock him off.
It was bad.
Yeah,
but I had to spend 2 months trying to convince people. Hey, schematically, it's an amazing fit. Just please don't overlook it just because he stuttered a bunch of times. I was like, please just look at it beyond the words. And they had the best rushing offense in the second half of 2021. So
I think it didn't help that early in the season he was just not running the ball at all, and everybody was like, "What the hell's going on?"
Literally had a vendetta against Miles Sanders. I swear.
Yeah, I was like, "What? Are you like? Do you not have like? Is he on your like arch rivals fantasy team? Like, what are you doing?" Like, I was. He had like 0 touchdowns the whole year.
Like banged his wife or something.
It had to have happened. So
hey, Philly got a bright future though.
Philly does have a bright future, and they might even have a brighter future after today's.
I saw that little switch.
Hey, don't worry, we do it bang, got it right, bullseye
all the time.
Oh yeah. They might even have a brighter future after today's trade. I got a notification, so I'm in class. I get a notification on my phone that there's a big trade. One of my friends in class is an Eagles fan, so I'm trying to read him the trade, and I swear I'm having a stroke trying to read it. All of the draft picks that were involved, and there was no players. So there was a big trade with the Eagles and Gage's squad, the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles receive pick 18, pick 101, and pick 237 in this year's draft, as well as a 2023 first round pick and a 2024 second round pick. That's a mouthful. While the Saints receive picks number 16, 19, and 194 in this year's draft. Gage, I'm going to start with you. How do you feel about this as a Saints fan? And what do you think your team is going to, who do you think they're going to go select?
It's very odd. I definitely wasn't expecting it by any means. And as I've been preaching for a long time now, I want a receiver in the first round so bad. Like, I want a receiver, like I need oxygen in my lungs.
You're telling me.
But I was also saying there for a little while that I think with the loss of Teron Armstead again to the Dolphins, who we were just talking about, that I think there's a good chance that we probably go tackle as well. with both of these picks in the first round, I think that they could address both of those things in the first round if they don't intend to somehow package this for something else. I know a lot of people are looking the quarterback route, and I hope not. I would rather hold off. I think that Jameis has been, he did plenty good enough last year before getting injured. And I think that he'll be a great guy for our squad this year as well. I think that he's more than capable of getting the job done. He added another element to our offense with being able to get the ball deep. That's something that, as much as I hate to admit it, Drew Brees couldn't do for a very long time. So I don't really want to go quarterback. And if we're going to go quarterback, I would rather wait maybe until next year or something. But now we don't have that first round pick next year. So who knows where we go here. But then again, like I said, we could potentially package these, move up if we are going to go quarterback, maybe Malik Willis, maybe a Kenny Pickett, something like that. The only guy that I've really heard us talking to is Desmond Ridder, and I hope we don't move up for him just because I don't feel like we really need to move up for him.
Yeah. It's like like a trading up for Mitch Trubisky type
yeah,
move.
It feels very odd. And then on the other side of things for the Eagles, it feels very similar to our situation almost. They need a receiver, so I could definitely see them still potentially addressing that. I could see them going defense first, maybe a linebacker or something.
Yep.
They added Hassan Reddick to rush off the edge.
Because you're right, that was a hell of a move. Like,
it is.
People who don't know who that is, I think that was the best deal for anyone under $5 million or under. Like, he is that good of a player.
Yeah, people are underrating that move big time. I think that he'll be great for them. And then if they want to add another piece or something like that, I think they could definitely do that. But I'm seeing some people also mention that they could potentially go quarterback. Like, they're not feeling like Hurts is the guy for some reason. I'm seeing those rumors kind of get thrown around. And that's not really how I feel about this for them. I think that Hurts is kind of their guy, and they'll at least stick with him for another year or two. Why not? Mm-hmm. He's on a rookie contract. There's no reason not to. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, Gage, I'm not throwing out of the question here that Dennis Allen just got the head coaching gig. He might be. I know you want two offensive players with these two picks. He might look for a little. He might look for a little new toy in this draft that he could put at the linebacker position. Because right now, aside from Demario Davis, your other linebacker is Pete Werner, and I don't know what he's really doing there.
I've heard that we're trying to bring back Quan Alexander.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I would love that. He's been great for us, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah. So
Pete Werner, could see you. He played fairly well when he was on the field last season, but obviously he was behind a couple guys, so he just didn't get on there very often.
I think the only linebacker that you would really take there, for the Saints, would be Devin Lloyd. I think because I think him and Nakobe Dean, I think, is a little bit of a wider gap than people think. But for the Saints, look, I really wish if this was any other team that needed a tackle, I would have slammed the door on Trevor Penning, take him. But he's in a power run scheme, and the Saints simply just don't do that. So in regards to what they're doing, look, Jameis Winston, yes, he can throw the ball downfield, and I'm actually all for what he was able to do because they were 5-2 with him. And the thing is the roller coaster, right? So there is, Kenny Pickett would offer something that Jameis Winston can't really give you, stability. But he just doesn't have the ceiling that you would really expect. And I'm actually pretty high on Pickett. I would put him at number 2. Willis only number 1 just because of the talent he has and the fixable traits that are there. But Pickett is, his senior or 5th year, whatever you want to call it, was tremendous. But yeah, I think also Bernhard Raymond, is that how you say it?
Bernard, I think it's Bernard.
Or Bernard Raymond. I think, that's probably the guy. If you want to wait a little bit and take a tackle, then that would probably be the guy you would take in the second round. And take maybe Devin Lloyd as Jake was uttering about. But I think also the receiving core, right? You get Michael Thomas, and there's just not a consistent number 2, right? Yeah. I used to say when I would try and defend Carson Wentz, the receivers on the Colts, the only 2 teams that they would probably start in is New Orleans and maybe Jacksonville when all their players were hurt. So. Yeah. They do need a second receiver, but if you would want to touch on what receiver you would take at that pick, who would you think, right? Because what do they have now? 15?
We're at 16 and 19.
Yeah.
16.
I've been thinking Chris Olave. They've been talking to him. He's been talking to them. I've mocked him there a couple times, and they seem to be, mutually interested. So I think that could potentially be a pick. And I think that he'd be a great receiver too, obviously, after Michael Thomas. I think that he'd fit that role very well. I like Traylon Burks a lot too. He's my wide receiver 1 in this class personally, and that might be a little high by some people's regards, but I really like his versatility and just his size and speed. So I think that he could offer something else, but he almost feels like, he'd be kind of that. He's got Michael Thomas type assets in a way.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen a lot of AJ Brown comparisons, which obviously is the easy pick to do with the guy of his size, and how they use him a lot of like bubble screens. They wouldn't really throw it to him necessarily down the field. Yeah, but he was just that guy that you could rely on like a 3rd and 4
for sure.
To get a first down. But yeah, I like the Olave just because, I mean, obviously Garrett's not going to slip that far down. I am an Ohio State fan, if you guys didn't know. I know it says Cal on the back, and I know I'm not allowed.
Us Big Ten guys hate it.
Yeah, I know I'm not allowed to say that anymore just because I technically work for them now, but I grew up in Ohio State. Like, I can't just let it go. And, obviously watching
it's in your blood. Yeah.
Yeah. Both are really great. I think they do different things. And I think Olave would be the better fit for New Orleans.
Totally I think it's definitely Olave just because I think he really complements Michael Thomas well. He would. Where Michael Thomas, he's outside the numbers. You can really just play Michael Thomas anywhere. He's your go-to guy on 3rd down. Whereas Chris Olave, he could be inside the numbers. He could be your slot guy. Brings a different element that Michael Thomas, he doesn't really have the speed after some of his injuries and never really did have just that game-breaking speed. Whereas Chris Olave, I think, brings that aspect to that offense. I don't know. I'm looking at my mock draft here at who I had the Eagles taking beforehand. At 15 and 16. It was the worst kept secret in the NFL, by the way, that the Eagles were going to trade out of one of these spots because there's just no way you could say, with the uncertainty at the quarterback position and, some of their positions of need, really, they just were not going to take 3 picks. Because this is, I'd say it's a weaker draft class than in years past. I think at the top end, you have some really good guys in Aiden Hutchinson. I know that Kayvon Thibodeau is dropping in a lot of mock drafts, but I still think he's going to be a game breaker. I still think he's going to be a game breaker.
He wreaked havoc in the Pac-12. Everyone in my staff keeps talking about how this guy is just unfair.
I think
it's insane.
Listen, if he wants to fall all the way down to 22, I wouldn't hate that. Pair him with Rashawn Gary, but I think it's wide receiver for the Saints. They have to address that. I mean, you cannot go into the season again with Marquez Callaway as like one of your top guys, even though he had all of the hype in the got me to draft him in our fantasy league. He made that one of those catch.
Who fell for it. I did not buy it. I did not buy it.
It's because that one catch he made in the preseason where he just like mossed like 2 people, and I was like, all right, I'm sold, and then never made a catch and notable one.
I took Callaway and then I would handcuff him with Michael Thomas because we were expecting him to be back at some point in the season, like maybe halfway. So I was like, Callaway will step in, he'll get me some points, and then Michael Thomas will come back and be an animal. And then Michael Thomas just never came back, and Marquez Callaway did nothing. So that's just how it goes.
I think it was a good move by the Eagles, though. I mean, in this now you don't have to pay 3 first-round pick salaries for players that you don't even necessarily need at the moment. You could sort of spread your picks out, and to get an extra second 2 years from now. I mean, Howie Roseman, he fleeced the Colts with the Carson Wentz trade, and he just keeps on making magic happen. So I think the Eagles are in a good spot. And I mean, they just made the playoffs when I don't think a lot of people expected them to make the playoffs in the NFC. And I like who they have at quarterback right now. I think Jalen Hurts is a great leader. I think he's very underrated. I feel like just people give hate to mobile quarterbacks in general. Like if you're not like a top end, if you don't have a Justin Herbert type arm, if you don't have Aaron Rodgers accuracy in year 1 or 2, you're automatically a bust. When, at the end of the day, the NFL is changing and mobile quarterbacks are becoming just as important, if not even more important to have in, the most athletic era in the NFL. So, I think the Eagles are in a really good spot. Weird trade, though. Definitely weird trade at the end of the day. All right.
It's all about putting confidence in Jalen Hurts. Like
exactly.
It's the first time that the Eagles have done it in years. I mean, because when Wentz, they gave him the big ass contract, they go literally less than a year later and draft a quarterback in round 2. So for them to move back, it gives them some confidence. But also, if Hurts does, somehow really fluke out, right? Because this is kind of his second full year as a starter. Mm-hmm. If he really flukes out, then you have in a better 2023 quarterback class, you have an opportunity to trade up with 2 firsts.
Sure.
Exactly.
Even though my team is included in this, and I don't hate it for us, I think that it makes a lot of sense for the Eagles. I like this trade a lot, and I think for exactly the reasons that you just said.
Yep. But now this leaves the Saints without a first-round pick next year. That's
scary.
That's gotta be a little scary.
Better hit on these.
We got none for the next 3 years. I'm in the same boat, brother.
yeah. The first round of the draft is gonna be a little boring for Cleveland fans. Yeah. I wish I'm still.
I'm in a different boat because I'm not used to having first round picks, or if we do a first round pick, it's a trade out every year. It's a trade down every single year. If it's not a trade down, it's a reach. Like Jordan Brooks at the time was an absolute reach. Rashad Penny.
He's panning out though a little bit.
No. I love Jordan Brooks.
Great.
I love Jordan Brooks. Jordan Brooks is a beast. He set the franchise record for tackles this season. Beast. But at the time, everybody was like, that's a second round pick. He was not supposed to be first round. Same thing with Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny, again, love Rashad Penny. Beast for a second half of the season last year. Absolutely a reach in the first round. Like they just notorious for just trading down or reaching for somebody. LJ Collier, don't even get me started on him.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like it's just Jermaine Ifedi, another terrible one. Like it's been the Seattle. That's why everybody's like, oh my God, Seattle got all these picks in the Russell Wilson trade. This is great. It's like, no. You don't understand John Schneider and Pete Carroll. Like they are, if it's not rounds 3, 4, 5, they can't make a pick. Like they've saved themselves a little bit recently with DK, Jordan Brooks, Rashad Penny. Like they've been getting back into the swing of, don't even get me started on Dwayne Eskridge. I'm fucking going on an hour rant here. And we could add Creed Humphrey bullshit, but no, I'm scared at number 1. I am scared
Pete has too much power.
What?
You think Pete has too much power?
It's not Pete has too much power. It's that John Schneider and Pete Carroll have always been a tandem. Like they are attached at the hip. Like if they're gonna get fired, like Pete's not gonna get fired. It's gonna be Pete and John. Like
that's a good point.
Are too much attached at the hip. They do everything together. They make every decision, which again is a great thing. You want that out of your head coach and GM. You want them to be, in lockstep, handcuffed together. Like every decision is unanimous between the two. You want that of a GM, but that's also a good and a bad thing because listen, Pete Carroll is now we're getting into my Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll has done so much good for this franchise. You can't fire him. Yeah. Like you just can't do it.
Like, it's a murky situation.
Exactly. So they're just waiting him out. They're waiting him out because he's going to retire soon. He's going to, as energetic as he is, he's going to retire soon
already or something.
Especially with Russ gone, I feel like
70. Just
I don't know if you really want to go into a rebuild. But,
and it's like John Schneider, you can't even, it's like, what's on John Schneider's resume that looks bad? It's like, oh, he found Cam Chancellor, Richard Sherman in like the middle. He found Russell Wilson. He found Bobby White. Like he found all of these guys in the middle of a draft. He got DK Metcalf last pick of the second round. Like, are you fucking kidding? Like this Tyler Lockett was the third round pick. Like he found all these guys. Chris Carson, 2,000 yard season, 7th round pick. Like he has hit on so many draft picks. It's like, it's the little things that people pay attention to that are like, John Schneider needs to get the fuck out of here. And it's like, what's the actual argument against John Schneider? Some bad trades, maybe. Yeah. And then Pete Carroll, the argument, the NFL has outgrown his system. Like that's
exactly.
Like,
and also
everybody runs Seattle scheme. Everybody runs Seattle scheme now. It's not like it was in 2012 when everybody was like, "Holy shit, the zone coverage with man on the outside." Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like everybody knows it. Everybody knows Seattle killers. Everybody knows Seattle beaters. Like it's just. We need a new young. I like what Clint Hurt. I like the Clint Hurt hire, defensive coordinator. I think he could bring. He's switching us from a 4-3 to a 3-4, which I think is huge because we haven't had a change to the defensive scheme in fucking forever.
Especially with
Ken Norton Jr.
Shut up. Every
Seahawks fan, every time I mentioned his name on his birthday, Seattle had a birthday post for him. They turned off the comments.
Yeah,
because literally on his birthday post, I was dying at that for like 10 minutes. I was like, "There's no way!" Like
he's so because he's a Pete Carroll guy. The thing about Pete Carroll is so shocking. There's been so many of his former offensive coordinators that come on the market, and he hasn't gone after Gus Bradley. Defense coordinator. I'm sorry. He hasn't gone after Gus Bradley. He hasn't gone after Dan Quinn. These are all guys that were available at one point and were part of that Super Bowl winning team. But he's stuck with Ken Norton. Ken Norton Jr. got fired from the Raiders. The Raiders had an atrocious defense. And he just did, it was like par for the course with the Raiders. Mm-hmm. He just made it, the same atrocity that it's always been. And he got fired. And Pete was like, nah, I'm going to bring this guy. Ken Norton Jr. is a terrific linebackers coach. You want to bring him on as linebackers coach? Tremendous linebackers coach. He was a significant part of developing Bobby Wagner. He was a significant part of developing Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. big part of that. Great linebacker.
Toxic relationship. Pete Carroll saw him and that he wasn't doing so well. He was like, I know he sucks, but
he's a friend.
I can change it.
It's the friend argument. He's like, it's my friend. That's my guy. Like, I gotta bring him back on. If you want to bring Ken Norton Jr. on as a linebackers coach, go ahead. He's going to be terrific for you. Great at that. He is not, and I cannot emphasize this enough, he is not an NFL defensive coordinator. He just can't do it. Maybe he's a college defensive coordinator, but get him the fuck out of the NFL DC conversation. He should not be a defensive coordinator for any NFL team ever. I'm glad
I got you riled up a little bit. We're talking about Ken Norton Jr.
Oh my God.
Got you into it a little bit.
As a sore topic.
That's why I know the true fans I always take like one little thing about each team and I'll tell it to somebody. And that's how I know. Like for the Vikings, it'll be like Dakota Dozier when he went to the Bears. Every Vikings fan was like, oh my God, finally this guy's gone. Like I picked like one little thing for every team. And I know it like it'll that's how you test if they're like a true,
it gets them.
Yeah. But also, wait, one more question about the Seahawks, if I could. Paul Allen, ever since, like, I just don't think it's been honest. Like, I know it's a little bit harsh, but I just think without Paul Allen being there, I think it's been a little bit rough on the front. Just because, like, the ownership just hasn't been the same. Like, I think sister's just not as into it. Like,
no, she's not. She cares about the Seahawks a lot. Like, Paul Allen and his sister, great ownership. Like, they are tremendous people. Everybody in the Seahawks organization loves them. It was just terrible when Paul Allen passed away. His sister loves the Seahawks. She is very much somebody that she knows what she doesn't know. She just wants to hand it off. Just be like, Pete, John, go do what you want to do. I don't know really what's going on. Paul had a grasp on what was going on. He was able to kind of guide some decisions. He'll again let them do what they wanted to do, but he would help out. His sister
heavily involved.
Yes. His sister, not that way. She's very much, and like in her position, like, I mean, I get it. I absolutely get it. Like they're the football guys. Let them do what they've done. They brought a Super Bowl to Seattle. Like it's understandable why you would trust these guys. It's just, you're absolutely right. I am having this. I've had this same thought in my mind. She can't make the tough decisions. And does it get to a point? I hope she has people around her that are like, Pete, John might be coming. Might be coming to the end here. Maybe we should start looking for somebody else. I don't think they sell. I don't think selling is in their future. Maybe
they love them too much to do that.
They love them too much. They're too ingrained in Seattle to sell. I'm not going to throw it out of the picture, but I would say 90% chance they do not sell the Seahawks. But she is going to have to surround herself with people that understand football and can guide her in the right way, not a Jack Easterby way, like not Jesus Christ. I do not want a Jack Easterby type on the Seahawks, but just somebody that can like get in her ear and be like, hey, like we're kind of coming to the end of the era here. If John Schneider and Pete Carroll don't put up, the results that we're kind of looking for now, again, ultimate like situation now where Pete and John can just ride this out because there's no expectations right now.
Like, exactly. Yes.
Total.
They bought a little time there.
Yeah. So it's a little scary there. Ultimately, if Pete retires and we still had John, which I think that's the only situation that would happen. If somebody's getting fired, they're both getting fired. But if Pete retires and John stays, I'm okay with it. I don't hate John Schneider. He's done, again, like I just said earlier, like he's done so much good. He's actually like, for all of his bad first round picks, he's made up for it with all of his terrific later round picks.
Sure.
So he's a good draft guy. He's made some good trades in his day. Dwayne Brown, Jadeveon Clowney, like he's made some decent trade. The Jimmy Graham trade that's kind of derailed the entire Seahawks dynasty back then. Yeah, Gage, fuck you. But
love that one.
But overall, John Schneider is not. I would put him in a middle tier GM in the NFL right now. 5-6 years ago, top tier GM. Absolutely. Now, very average GM. He's done enough good to stay. He's not done enough terrible to warrant firing. But I just hope that Pete retires soon and we get a new young blood in there that kind of understands how to adapt with the changes in the NFL now, because Pete
agree. Yep.
Very stubborn. He will run that system until the day he dies. And it's not working in the NFL anymore.
Maybe an offensive mind.
Maybe Byron Leftwich.
That's what Shane Waldron was supposed to be. Shane Waldron was supposed to come in and be that offensive mind. Now, again, we couldn't really evaluate Shane Waldron because Russell Wilson was injured he was out 4 weeks, and then he did not look like himself for another 3 weeks. So
2 or 3.
Yeah. So I can't, people are like shitting on Shane Waldron. We can't judge it yet. Like they came out, they crushed the Colts in week 1. And I was like, holy shit, this system looks great. So TBD on Shane Waldron, but I have hope with the Clint hurt and Pete's letting him change the scheme of the defense and Shane Waldron bringing some new stuff. I have hope that Pete's maybe getting a little, knowledge that he's got to change some stuff, but we'll see what
kind of passing the torch on to some other people, letting them make some decisions.
Because that's a big deal for him to give up his scheme and be like, yeah, okay, we'll change to a 3-4. Like that's a huge deal for Pete Carroll.
I feel like Anisha's first question was, do you feel like Pete Carroll has too much power? And then you said no, and then everything you said after that was saying that Pete Carroll has too much power.
Well, it was in regard to like, it's not that he's too much power. He's just stubborn. Like that's it. That's all it is. Like it's not like ultimately John has the say
with all of his power.
Yeah. I guess that's true. Pete has a little too much. I'll say, okay. Yeah.
He's got to back off.
There we go.
Bit,
yeah. He has a little bit too much. But then again, like I'm saying, my point is that John and Pete think the same way. So like every decision that John is making, Pete had the same idea. Like they're one mind fused together. Like
like it was a decision you can't really made regardless of who it was.
So
I get what
so you can't really say, oh, like Pete made that. It's like no, John would have made the same exact decision. They're the same like they're basically the same people.
I don't know. I just think if it came down to Russell Wilson or Pete Carroll, especially with Pete Carroll, coming towards the end of his career, like I can't believe they chose Pete Carroll. Like. Yeah, I know there was some animosity between Russ.
Yeah, I don't know if it was really like a necessary they chose. Because Russ did say he still wanted to stay. Like I know there was a whole thing, but he also did say, right, like in his Broncos presser, like I chose to come to Denver.
Yes,
right? Like I waived it.
Yes, he did.
I was willing to, right? I was willing to make this entire change because like I think people don't tend to realize sometimes like these NFL players, when as proven commodities as they are, 33 years old plus, like they have families, right? Like this is a big move for them, right? Kids going to school, stuff like that, moving, right? Like I think that does play into a part, whether they want to move or not. And I mean, that's why like I was a little bit, like when Aaron Rodgers chose to say like he really doesn't have that type of not like baggage. I don't want to say that because obviously family's not a baggage, but he doesn't have that kind of weighing down on him. So that's why little Luke segment there. I was a little shocked that he actually chose to say that early, but with the knowledge of Adams potentially being gone too. But
the thing with Russ was he wanted to stay, but he didn't want to go through a rebuild. And the Seahawks, if they were going to keep him, it had to be Russ had to call a lot of the shots, and it had to be Russ's way. Like, okay, we're not going to tank. I still want to be a playoff contender. And the Seahawks, it's not I've kind of come to this decision now, like after thinking about it for so long, after Russ has been traded. It's not that the Seahawks chose Pete and John over Russ. It's that the way Russell wanted the team built was just going to be a stagnant, no man's land for the team for the next 5 years.
You'll be too good to be bad and
exactly
just not good enough to be at that top echelon.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all it was going to be. Why it was going to be first round exit, barely sneak into the wild card. Maybe you get to the divisional round, but other than that,
that's kind of what it's been over the past 8 years, 6 years.
And like after processing this, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I wish Russell the best. I'll always root for him. He's my favorite football player ever, but
except for when they travel to Seattle this season.
Yeah, that's gonna be there's
gonna be a lot of revenge games this year.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, that game's gonna be hard for me. But this is good for the Seahawks because now every year I had the same feeling like, all right, we're in the playoffs, we're not gonna do anything. Like what are we gonna do here? The defense isn't good enough. Now it kind of gives me that okay. Now we can drop everything. It was hard to lose Russ. It was hard to lose Bobby, but now we're starting, square one. Let's go. And that's a better feeling than just being in the no man's land of too good to, tank, but too bad to not, to make the Super Bowl. So I'm okay with it. I've come to terms with the Seahawks rebuild at this point.
Jake, I had to take my first episode when we recorded our podcast. We're dating this back to November 2019. So this is the first segment we did. And I said, Russell Wilson and Matt Ryan would never win a Super Bowl with their respective teams again. So this would be Seattle and Atlanta, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Because of I thought the mental atmosphere of the two ways they lost it, right? 28-3. And obviously the 1 year. I'm sorry, I'm bringing it up, but
no,
the 1 year.
That's right. That's okay.
Yeah, I know you've dealt with it enough over the last.
I've processed
7
it.
years.
It's fine.
Yeah. So I just thought, with the whole fortitude out there, I just thought that they would never get back there until those two quarterbacks switched teams. And it's ironic they switched in the same offseason. I would have never thought that they would have switched the same year, but here we are now. So I think Seattle, they've got a lot of future though. I think they've got some potential. So
I definitely agree, because the way I had more hope when we lost when the players started to leave that were on that team, because then it was like, okay, you got less of those people that experienced that. Because Sherm, the Legion of Boom was never the same after that pick. They were never the same. They had this animosity towards, it wasn't Pete Carroll that made the call. It was Darrell Bevel that made the call. But ultimately, yes, everything gets put on the head coach, and it had to go through Pete to make the call. So it's actually Darrell Bevel's fault if we're gonna place blame here. But that defense was never the same. They didn't feel the same way. Russ was disappointed because Russ was barely in his third year at that point. So he wasn't really in a situation where he could call an audible in that point. He's still in his rookie contract. You still trust your coaches. But I started to get a little hope when those guys left, because I was like, okay, Russ is really the only one bearing that burden, and maybe he can get over it. But I saw a change in how they performed after that pick. Their attitudes were never the same.
Totally agree. Yeah, that was one of the main reasons why I did it. Yeah. You could see it even in the playoff games that they play, right? Absolutely. Carolina. What else was there? LA. That one against LA in 2020, the one where that one. Yeah, I think that was probably the worst playoff games in Seattle's. Obviously excluding the pick, but yeah.
Well, who was John Wolford?
No, Goff played on a broken thumb, but he outplayed Russell Wilson on the road with the broken thumb.
Okay.
And that was the day Totally Unqualified was born, actually.
Wow, interesting.
That's
cool.
not them two, but that's the day I started the YouTube channel Totally Unqualified, and I made a rant about that game, because that game was the worst Seahawks game I've ever seen in my entire life. That was just an embarrassment to be home and lose to a combination of John Wofford and an injured Jared Goff. That was absolutely.
I apologize. I picked the Rams, so I was ecstatic, going crazy.
No,
just
that's
because
fine.
of my love
for Cooper Crazy pick. That was a really good pick.
Yeah, that was just that was terrible. That was terrible.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on from some football talk, guys. The national championship is on as we're recording this. Literally, now.
I think it might already be starting.
Yeah,
it is.
It is 9:25 Eastern time, and it starts at 9:20 Eastern time. So to wrap up the episode, I just want to get your guys' picks. Who do you have winning the national championship? Number 8 seed ranked UNC or number 1 Kansas? Anish, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, yeah, usually I don't talk basketball on the pod, or on any pod, but I'm actually going to go with Kansas here, and here's why. Just because I think UNC Duke took a lot out of these players. These are 19, 20-year-old kids, and that atmosphere was huge, right? To play in that type of game, I think they thought they treated that as the championship. It's kind of similar to what Gonzaga did last year with the whole Jalen Suggs buzzer beater, right? Because it's hard not to go crazy after you hit a half court to win it, right? Similar thing here. I think it's just going to get to them a little bit. Obviously, they're playing right now, but I think Kansas is a deeper team too. UNC had to rely on Caleb Love, and then Armando Bacot, especially with those rebounds, were kind of huge. I just don't think they get the same type of production. Yeah, crazy. 21. I don't think they get the same production tonight. I'm going to go with Kansas.
I'm going to go with Kansas as well here. I think that they've looked really good all the way throughout to me, whereas UNC has had their ups and downs a little bit, a couple close ones. The game against Duke, like you said, obviously a huge game for them, but it was very close. It came down to the wire, and it was a huge game. So I don't know. I just feel like Kansas is more built for it right now, whereas nobody expected UNC to be here in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah, just an interesting tidbit. I mean, if UNC wins, they'd be tied with the lowest seed ever to win the NCAA tournament. So
crazy.
They shouldn't be an 8 seed in the first place. Like they're way too good to be an 8 seed. But like,
facts.
Yeah,
really beat Duke to the final game of the year.
Yeah, and then did it again. This UNC team is hot. I mean, Kansas is hot too. Kansas, I gotta give them major credit. I gotta apologize to the Jayhawks because they were my first 1 seed out in my bracket. My bracket is a dumpster fire. Like it's probably the worst bracket ever.
Same
created.
Here, brother. Same
here. It was bad.
Who'd you have winning Anish? Who'd you have winning Anish?
Huh?
Who'd you have winning?
Okay, so I had Arizona, and then I had Kentucky in the final. So, wow, it was pretty bad.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
No, we had like a bracket challenge, and the loser of it's 15 players in this, and the loser has to eat a sandwich from this place called Angry Chicks, and the chicken is so hot. It has a Carolina Reaper in it. You have to sign a waiver, and the last person to do it, he missed our graduation mass, baccalaureate mass, and he was out 3 days being sick, and he was on the toilet every time for 2 hours. That's how bad it was. Yeah.
See,
So
I need friends like that, man.
I finished 9th this year, thank God. And last year I finished 13th out of 15. Dude, it was, oh my God.
Yeah. So it's bad. I'm going to be honest. I haven't watched a single game of Kansas just because they haven't interested me. And they've just like always been, I caught the UNC Duke game. That was the game I cared about with the Final Four. But other than that, like it was like St. Peter's, I would catch those games. Then like before that, there was just so many games going on that I didn't really catch Kansas. So I've literally not seen a single play of Kansas this year, but I'm going with UNC. I'm rolling with UNC. They definitely, Caleb Love looks like one of the best players in the country. Like I would not be surprised. This guy should be top 3 draft pick. I haven't done the scouting for NBA draft this year, but I'd be shocked if this guy was not a top lottery draft pick. Like this guy is so good. It's just going to come down to the players around Caleb Love. Like RJ Davis has to have a better game. Armando Bacot absolutely has to get, he had 21 rebounds in the last game. That's wild. He needs to do that again. Hopefully he can do that again. Caleb Love, like as long as you have him, I think he have 70 points in like 5 quarters, like something
the
wild,
last 5 quarters, something like that.
Yes, something wild. Like Caleb Love is electric. Like he has the ability to put UNC on his back, and they have good enough role players around him that they could definitely win this game. I don't know. Again, I haven't watched Kansas play, so this is probably going to blow up in my face, but I'm going with the Tar Heels here.
I think I'm also going to go with the Tar Heels. I feel like they've been underrated all year, even though they got that signature win over Duke at the end of the season, and then obviously just now in the Final Four, but they didn't really have any other signature wins other than Duke. They had a lot of ranked losses, and I think they had like a win against I think I want to say Michigan, and I think they were ranked towards the end or towards the bottom. But I think they've been here before. Obviously, Kansas has too. And Roy Williams not being there is a little questionable. It makes me, believe a little bit less in this team. But I have a feeling, and I'm kind of just riding off that. I'm kind of just riding it off of a feeling.
He rode with Hubert Davis for a long time. Like this is a guy who he's groomed for 9 years. So
for sure.
I saw an interview just earlier today with Colin Cowherd and Roy Williams. He has the utmost trust in Davis, and he's also I think going to be at the game if I'm not mistaken. So
he was at.
I feel like he's at every game. Yeah, I feel like
he was at the Final Four. You could see the little graphic of him. So I think so he'll be there in spirit. Yeah,
and I think beating Duke in that moment in that game against Coach K in like I think that just as an underdog like that was really
one
impressive.
Of the biggest wins in their program's history.
Yeah, and I think that actually tied. I don't know if it's against Coach K or Duke. Yeah, was that against Duke or was that against Coach K?
I think it is their. I'm not sure. I think it is their all-time. No. I think it's Coach K actually. Coach K because now they're 50. They're 50.
Yeah, since Coach K got there, they're 50-50 against each other.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that was the first tournament matchup ever. So
crazy,
and it was a great game too. It was a great game.
It feels good to have somebody on my side when picking a matchup like that because I'm usually the odd man out. So I appreciate. Oh man,
no, we have that on our pod too. I'm usually on the 2. It's 2v1, so usually it's okay. Like there's always but last year when it's my co-host Shrikar, he was the odd man out. But yeah, he won picks last year. Sadly, I was really mad about that, but it's okay. I won the year before, and I'll win next year. So don't worry. Yeah, we'll be back.
Well, Nish, I have an important question for you, just to end things off here. All right, who has more value if they were to be traded right now?
Oh my God.
Okay.
Tyler Lockett or Jordan Love? Who would garner a better draft pick?
Oh wow, that's really tough. Like I honestly think it's tough because it depends on the team. It depends on the team, and it also like I just think it depends on what they would look for. Like if like for example if you're looking at maybe like a wide receiver hungry team like the Saints, obviously they'll be willing to part with
just
third, maybe even a second for Tyler.
If you just saw like a notification pop up like these players were traded, who would you assume?
Oh, that's so tough. Just because I love Tyler Lockett so much. Like,
I think that it's
right.
I said it as close.
I'm probably gonna go Lockett.
That's
let me guess. I think Luke thinks Love, and Jake thinks Tyler.
I was in the middle of it last.
I'm on a hunch. I just think it really depends on like for example, the Falcons gave a second for Hayden Hurst. I don't think any other team would have given a second for Hayden Hurst. I think it really just depends on teams. Because like Cooks is garnering a second right now. Like that's what the Texans want for Brandon Cooks. So
I want him back so bad.
No, dude,
you might get him back. You might get him back.
I'd love it.
Could you imagine him a reunion there? I would love that.
I'd like to see him in green and gold as well. I wouldn't hate that. My reasoning behind it was I just thought, you look at some of the quarterbacks in this year's draft class. I don't think Jordan Love is, at the top of the list. Like I think it's Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett. But then after those two, I think then you could start mentioning Jordan Love like above, Sam Howell and above Matt Corral and Desmond Ridder. So if you're looking at that and you're thinking, oh, maybe Sam Howell gets drafted maybe in the late first round, early second, mid second. If you're going to put Jordan Love above him,
are you saying you're getting a first round pick for Jordan Love? Is that what you're saying right now?
No. I think it would be a second.
Yeah, I'd have to disagree with you on that one.
I think it would be a second because I don't necessarily think Sam Howell is going to go. I think maybe the last pick of the first round, if anything, like maybe the Lions.
I think Corral would be just because like see the only thing with Corral was the injury concern because throughout last year, right? So I did a comparison between Corral and Pickett. I should have waited, so I had done Willis and Pickett, and I'm really pissed off I didn't wait till the Senior Bowl and the Combine. But yeah, no, Corral. The only thing was with the injury, and Howell again has amazing sophomore year and then the talent. But I think Jordan Love. The only thing with me is just like from what I've seen, he has bad tape. Like the bad tape is out there, and then also
I was going to say that exactly what you brought up with Baker Mayfield. Just the bad tape is out there, and that hurts his value.
Yeah, you can't like for him. I just didn't see either game, right? Chiefs and the Lions. Like as soon as I knew the Packers clinched the 1 seed, I immediately picked Detroit, like just because I thought Jordan Love was going to play. I just thought
he didn't even play like a lot. He played like maybe a quarter.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I got a little bit scared when Rodgers was playing a little bit more than I thought. But I was like, okay, as long as Jordan Love gets in there, the Lions will have a chance. So I'm glad the Packers at least retained A-Rod because Jordan Love would have been a little bit of a rough stretch.
Yeah,
he's just left a lot to desire so far.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt LaFleur, for playing our starters and David Bakhtiari coming back and then re-injuring his knee and then not being able to play against the 49ers.
Yeah.
Pitch perfect call, Matt LaFleur. That was, oh man. Well, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of the Totally Unqualified Podcast. If you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave us a rating and review. It helps out the podcast a lot, and we would greatly appreciate it, as well as YouTube. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, comment, send it to your parents, send it to your teacher, send this video to everybody you know. So if there's anything you guys want to wrap it up with, Jake, I'll start with you, Gage, and then wrap it up with Anish.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, make sure to go follow us on all of our social media accounts. I am, of course, Jake Maltese 3. Then Luke, of course, Football Fan Zone, Gage Extra Points. Anish, you want to shout out your social medias?
Yeah, sure. There's like a lot. I'll probably just go
That's right. List them all.
I'll probably go with Cold Hard Truth Podcast on YouTube, and then Cold Hard Truth YT on TikTok. I think I'm starting to do a little bit of it. It's fun. It's not bad. It's a little bit cool. Yeah, making all these little edits I've been doing. But so that would be one, and then Cold Hard Truth podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave these guys a 5-star rating. I know I will be, and I'm gonna get my clothes to do that.
Appreciate that.
Awesome. This was an awesome video, guys. I loved it.
And just as a last thing, be sure to join our Discord. I mean, we just have a bunch of people in there constantly talking ball and stuff like that. I love it. I've been doing it for a while now, and I think that it's a great way to kind of harbor a community. And I'm going to start asking a lot more questions and stuff in there. I know a lot of people use Twitter for that kind of stuff, but I'm going to be asking questions and then using those for videos. So if you want to participate in those things, definitely be sure to join.
Yeah, Discord is a great community. Make sure, once again, to go check out the Cold Hard Truth podcast. Thank you so much, Anish, for coming on this episode, and we will see you guys in episode 74.